Hello Electro heads, this is the long-awaited Vauxhall Mokka-e. Now, back in October of last year, we were among the very first people to get a proper look at this car, and we rather liked it. And based on the comments, you rather liked it too. Today we've got this car to ourselves for a few hours, and we are finally going to find out if it's actually any good. Is the Mokka-e the complete package, or, much like myself, is it just a beautiful exterior, lacking any real substance? Now, usually we begin these videos by doing a little walk around of the car, talking about the exterior styling. We sort of already did that in the first look video, so go watch that if you fancy it. For the time being, I'll give you the short version. Look good. Honestly, I am practically allergic to small crossover SUVs, so for one to charm me as much as the Mokka-e has is a big achievement. I've said this before, but if you put it in a normal, sensible colour, it looks very normal and sensible. But if you put it in a green with a black bonnet like this launch spec car, looks like a little squashed muscle car. It's fantastic. Honestly, a lot of strange things have happened already in the 2020s, but a good-looking green Vauxhall with a black bonnet might be the most messed up thing of them all. By the way, just so that there's no confusion, I should mention that when this car is properly released in the UK, it will be badged as a Vauxhall, unlike this left-hand drive example I've got, which is badged as a German Opel. Pretty much every Vauxhall in the last 40 years has actually been an Opel. Essentially, it's a German product repackaged to make it more appealing to a British customer. A bit like the Queen. Right, welcome to the interior of the Vauxhall Mokka-e. Now, I have sat in here before, although last time, due to COVID restrictions and the fact that other people were going to be getting in after me, I wasn't allowed to touch anything. This time, the car is mine for the afternoon, and I can touch anything I like. I could lick this knob if I... Cut that. Now, having spent a few minutes just fiddling around in here, pressing all the buttons, playing with all the toys, I would describe this cabin as familiar and functional. If you're looking for a car that feels space age in the cabin, look elsewhere. This isn't like the Honda-e or any Tesla where it's designed to feel like it's from the future. This is quite the opposite. It's just designed to feel like a car that happens to be electric. No one, not even my mum, would sit in here and feel confused. It is very sensible and functional in here, but I think a clear effort has been made to make things a bit interesting as well. Add a little bit of zhuzh, a little bit of je ne sais quoi. For example, get a load of this. It's called the Pure Panel. It's kind of like one big piece containing the center screen and the heads-up display. It's a little bit, dare I say it, Mercedes-esque. And there's a few other small details in here that just really make me feel like Opel/Vauxhall have made a proper effort just to make it a bit more interesting and cheerful than the other crossover SUVs. I like this suede material with the contrast stitching. It's on the seat as well. I think I like this sort of faux carbon fibre. I think I do. I'm not 100% sure on that one. On top of that, this car is absolutely packed with tech at standard. Apple CarPlay, parking cameras, other things that I've forgotten, all the stuff that you would expect to cost extra, a lot of it comes as standard on this car. In fact, here's a list of some of the big things that come as standard that I forgot to mention because I'm an idiot. Nice. Look, I realise it may sound like I'm getting slightly overexcited about what is fundamentally a fairly standard little electric crossover, but I would ask you to cast your mind back to the old Vauxhall Mokka. Not only was there no electric variant, but it was the most perfectly bland car ever created. It was automotive rice pudding. The level of improvement from the old Mokka to this thing is immeasurable, and for all my silly little jokes about Opel Vauxhall, they deserve huge credit for this. Between this car and the Corsa E, they've got some serious momentum now, and if they can keep that going, a year or two from now, we're going to be looking at this brand in a very different light. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. It might be shit to drive. Let's go find out. Oh, look, it's an old shape Mokka. How terrible. Right, we are now out on the road in the Vauxhall Mokka-e. Now, this being a little crossover electric SUV type thing, and considering that those don't exactly attract people who care about driving dynamics, I'm fully expecting this to be quite soft, quite squashy, quite comfortable, very easy to drive. And it's all of those things. The suspension is good, it's nice and comfy, the seats are nice and comfy, the steering is very, very light. You could steer with one finger if you wanted. The pedals too, super lightweight controls, very effortless to drive. One thing I definitely was not expecting to find in here was a sport mode. This car has 3 driving modes, Eco, Normal and Sport. You do get the maximum power, the full 136 horsepower in Sport mode, but the steering is still very light, the car is still very squashy. Not sporty, that's not a word I would use to describe this car, but yeah, it's a fun novelty feature, I guess. Most of the time you're going to be driving in normal or even eco if you're a little bit short on range and you're struggling to get home. And it suits that very nicely. It's just a very easy, relaxing car to drive. You know, the whole crossover SUV thing, I'm high up, I feel like I'm lording over the road. My theory on why mums love crossover SUVs so much is it makes them feel like they'll win if they crash because they're higher. Is that what it is? Mums? Let me know down below if you're a mum. Is that why you like crossover SUVs? I've got to say, I'm a big fan of the dials in this car. It's just such a clean design. I really hope that this kind of font and look carries over onto other Vauxhall models. Cabin space, not too bad. I mean, it's a crossover, which means it's basically just a hatchback, and it feels hatchback sized in here. There's plenty of room for me as the driver, lots of headroom. Back seats, well, put it this way. If a normal sized person is driving, plenty of legroom. If a me sized person is driving, zero legroom. Boot space, not too bad. Not quite as much as you'd expect from a car this size, but that has to happen because there's batteries under there. Let me hit you with some key stats. The Vauxhall Mokka-e has 136 brake horsepower, as we mentioned. Top speed, 93 miles per hour, not that it matters. Range is 201 miles, very, very decent if you ask me. And then pricing is between 31 and 35 grand after the UK government EV grants. If, that is, you can actually get your hands on one, because guess what? This bright green electric Vauxhall is sold out. There is a waiting list to get your hands on one of these. Another new electric car selling out before it's even gone on sale. File it under things you love to see.
The Vauxhall Mokka-e is by no means a perfect car. Visibility isn't the best due to the small windows and muscly design. There also doesn't seem to be any way of turning up the regen braking strength for proper one-pedal driving, which is bizarre to me. Plus, it really doesn't like being thrown around. Go into a corner a little too hot and it will suddenly feel very heavy. But those are my only complaints, and I don't think any of them are deal breakers.
What this car is, when all is said and done, is just a really solid, well-rounded little electric car. It's not game-changing, it's not revolutionary, but it's not trying to be. It's just a car that's easy to live with, simple to use, and actually has quite a bit of style. I really like this thing. Am I becoming a crossover SUV person? To squeeze out a few kids next. Do you know what I very nearly just said? I very nearly just said that I would have one of these over a VW ID3. I was not expecting that today. I don't think that I would. I like the way that this looks more on the outside. I like the way it looks more on the inside. I prefer the infotainment. I prefer driving the ID3 because it's a bit lower down, it's rear wheel drive, it's just a bit more engaging, and I'm a driving nerd, so that matters to me. But the fact that I'm even considering it, fair play to the Mokka. So there we have it, the Vauxhall Mokka-e, the long-awaited Vauxhall Mokka-e, not just a pretty face, as it turns out. Let me know in the comments, what do you make of this little car? Is this the best Vauxhall in the last 10 years, 20 years, ever? Let me know down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you soon.